Guiding your successful business to become epic is what I am all about. So this video series I'm calling Business Lessons from the Appalachian Trail. In 2001, I spent a half a year with a buddy of mine, Spencer, and we hiked the Appalachian Trail, backpacked the Appalachian Trail. And I've always been an entrepreneur in spirit. I've been a business owner for probably 25 years at this point, and I'm a business coach over the last 6 or 7 years also. So there's a whole lot of correlation and lessons that are similar between that Appalachian Trail experience and business, and that's what this is about. So today, I'd like to share with you a little bit of perspective about fuel consumption, we'll call it. So when you are backpacking full days, early in the Appalachian Trail, we were looking to hike, 7, 10 miles a day. As we got in a little bit better shape, we were hiking 14 and 17 mile days. And when we got in really great shape, we were hiking 18 to 25 mile days every day. So obviously we were burning a whole lot of calories, and we had to replenish that and refuel ourselves along the way. So when it comes to fuel consumption, I'm talking about diet and water, what it takes to fuel the system, and the timing of that fuel consumption along the way, which is super, super important. You get so tuned into your body's status from an energy standpoint and fueling standpoint when you're doing something like that day in and day out for a half a year. So obviously we had to think about water, and we needed to always make sure we had a little bit of spare water in case it was an extra distance that was unanticipated before we could find an additional water source. So we had to have some water reserves, and we also needed to consume plenty of water when we were at a source. Just like go ahead and consume water while the getting's good, and top off your reserves to make sure that the day was pretty smooth from that standpoint. And when it came to food and caloric intake, putting calories down, we were burning 6, 7, probably 8,000 calories depending on the day. We were burning a lot of calories each day. And there is really not much of a way to carry that much food and calories on your back to replenish that 100%, right? So, but we had to do the best we could, and when we got to town, we were looking for a buffet so we could go and pig out and get those calories built back up and protein built back up. And so, again, when the getting's good, you take care of business. So while we were on the trail though, I got into, each person's got their own kind of pace for fuel consumption that works for them. Everybody's body is a little bit different, right? So what worked for me was different than what worked for my buddy Spencer. And that was okay. He had his thing going on, I had my thing going on, and we self-managed. But along the way, of course, we learned and got better and better and smoother at managing that energy along the way. It is exactly the same in your business. So let's think about the fuel that your business needs to manage and to be thoughtful of and to store up. Capital, cash flow. This is the lifeblood of the business, right? When we've got work to do on, I guess a great analogy is when you're trying to figure out how to cover payroll, we're not working on company culture that week. We're working on figuring out the resources so that we can refuel our accounts with enough money to make payroll, right? That's a cash flow issue. So capital and cash flow that's the lifeblood of your business. So in your business, do you have a cash flow forecast? And I recommend that you have one for the next 24 months. Certainly we need to start with a 12-month cash flow forecast, but then we can extend it to 24 months and think a little bit further forward. Most businesses have some type of seasonality. Not all, but most businesses have some type of seasonality. And when the getting's good, when you're in a strong pattern for that seasonality and you got a lot of capital coming in, a lot of cash coming in, we need a plan for how much of that cash we need to pull aside into a separate account and protect it for when things are a little bit more lean. And if you've been in your business for a little bit of length of time, you probably have an idea of when that seasonality is going to be. So you can make a guess on how much money you need to pull aside. However, without considering things from a cash flow forecasting standpoint, which is much more in depth and gives you a heck of a lot more clarity on where you're going and how you are going to get there. What's the right timing financially? What's the right timing for my next hire? Should I hire someone to help me with admin first or next? Or should I hire someone else to help me in the field and produce some additional gross profit? You know, the cash flow forecast helps us make decisions, have clarity on where we're going, and to keep things as smooth as possible through the year and through the next few years as well. You know, we want short-term cash reserves and we need some long-term cash reserves that we can lean on if something happens that's a little bit more sustained impact. You know, the pandemic's a great example. The clients that we worked with prior to the pandemic, as we got into the pandemic, the clients that we worked with were in a lot better position than most other businesses in the marketplace because we have been working on their cash flow forecasting and making sure that we had appropriate reserves for contingencies. We had enough runway with those businesses financially to have a level head, make some great decisions, and move the business forward. It gives you more ability to be creative in the moment versus reacting. Okay, so that's another great lesson. Comes to mind here. Do you feel like you're reactive in your business most of the time? The cash flow has a lot to do with that. It's not the whole story, but it has a lot to do with that. If you are getting into a cash crunch and you don't have reserves or you didn't anticipate it coming, then you're probably going to be reacting, and it's difficult to pull your emotion back enough to be creative in that moment versus reacting and making some emotional decisions. So I hope you can see fuel consumption on the AT, on the Appalachian Trail, fuel consumption from a cash flow standpoint in your business, it's identical in concept. We need to anticipate what our organization is going to need along the way. We need to plan for contingencies from a cash pulled aside and protected standpoint, and make some plans on what those contingencies might look like along the way so that we've already thought through that. And when we get there, for instance, on the Appalachian Trail, I may have made plans to go into town and have a meal. However, if I get to town after the restaurant closes that I was going to be close enough to walk to, I'm out of luck, right? So I've got to have a contingency or some reserve food in my pack so that I can still take care of my needs along the way. And I had those reserves at all times because I had done some really good planning, and I managed my fuel consumption from a business perspective. You know, managing cash flow, consumption along the way can make or break how you handle your business and how in control you are with your business. Does your business run you, or do you run your business? Is another way to look at it. So if you got some questions about any of that, I'm a business coach. I've been doing that for about 6 or 7 years, and I guide businesses to become epic. And part of that equation is getting real methodical in approach to cash flow, fuel consumption in your business, right? So I'd love to hear your perspective or takeaways from this video. I'd love your input on the video itself, and I can't wait to see you next time and share a little bit more perspective from the Appalachian Trail experience I had 25 years ago. Cheers, and make this the best week ever.